In this lesson, we will pick up where we left off in the previous lesson and learn how to trace and locate the perspective type in a reference photo. This is a simple procedure that can help to ensure your perspective is correct when drawing from reference. Before we even start drawing the image, we should always try to find the perspective first. We will begin with one point perspective to make it easier for ourselves. In this photo, we have a simple interior scene. To find the perspective, I will trace the lines going into perspective since the vertical and horizontal lines won't give us any information here. I will draw a line and rotate it to fit the lines going into perspective from both sides. For example, the table on the right and the armchair on the left. Where these lines meet will give us the vanishing point for this perspective. From that point, we can draw a horizontal line since the vanishing point of one perspective will be on the horizontal line itself. Now that we have both the horizon line and the vanishing point, we can trace all the lines in the scene back to that point. This will make it much easier to draw everything else in the scene using this information. We won't go into drawing the scene just yet, we will do that later. We are just trying to find the perspective lines in this image. In this street view, we have more complicated organic and man-made objects. Just follow the lines like we did before, and you will find the perspective lines as well. Here I follow the sidewalks on both sides along with the street lines in the middle, and they will all lead us to the vanishing point straight in the middle of the image. From that vanishing point, we can draw a horizontal line, and that will be our horizon line for this perspective. Now we can simply trace all the lines in the scenes back to this vanishing point and the horizon line. You can see even the windows on the building trace back to the same vanishing point. This will make it much easier to draw everything in the scene later on. Let's see another example of one-point perspective. Here we trace the lines of the columns all the way back to the vanishing point on the right side. It's still a one-point perspective, just not in the center. Along with the bench on the right and the pergola on the top, we get the vanishing point center. From there, we can draw the horizon line. Now we have the guidelines to draw everything else in the scene in a correct perspective. Moving on to the two-point perspective, we have an exterior view of a building. Let's start tracing the lines and see where it leads us. Here we have vanishing points that go all the way out of the canvas. Same from the other side. Let's see where the lines meet from the top and the bottom of the building. We find out that they meet at two different points. We can tell, of course, by the horizontal lines being skewed and straight, something that happens in two-point perspective. Where those lines meet on both sides, we get the vanishing points, and in between them, we get the horizon line. Once we establish these perspective guidelines, we can draw everything from here. Here is another two-point perspective, but with a high angle. We follow the same process, tracing the lines from both sides. Again, the vanishing points are way off the canvas, but we can trace them back to the 2 points on both sides. These will be our vanishing points, and in between them, again, there will be the horizon line. From there, we can trace all the lines in the building back to these vanishing points. Let's try something more complicated now, with 3-point perspective. You have this high angle view of a skyscraper. We can trace the vertical lines all the way to the bottom and find the third vanishing point and trace the line on both sides of the building to get the first and second vanishing points. Now these points meet a bit higher than before, so let's scale down the image a bit. Here we see where the lines meet. That will be our horizon line. And these are the 3 vanishing points for this perspective. The further away the vanishing points are from the image, the less distorted the building will be. If these points were on the same image, it would be really distorted and almost unrecognizable. From what we got so far, we can trace back all the lines of the building to these points with ease. Even the lines of the street and surrounding buildings can be all traced back to these exact points. And here we have it, all seen traced back to their original perspective. But we can go further. We can even trace perspective on objects or figures as well. It still follows the same method, tracing the lines back to the vanishing points at the intersection between the horizon line and the perspective lines. Here we have a toy truck that we need to know the perspective type and horizon line for. So we simply extend the lines of the truck all the way back and guesstimate where they will meet. Once I have one vanishing point, I can now get the other side as well. The horizon line will of course be on the same level between the 2 vanishing points, and the vanishing point will be at the intersection of all the perspective line and the horizon line. And here we have got the horizon line and the vanishing point. We can simplify the story truck into its basic box in order to draw it on our own canvas. Okay, let's move on to this car. This is a higher perspective with much less distortion. And as we learned before, the less distorted the object is, the further away the vanishing points will be. So if we follow the lines from one side, they barely meet at the end of the canvas on the right. Now we can fix the other side and try to extend the lines toward the horizon line. But the vanishing point is so far away, it's actually outside the canvas. So we can either guess where it is or rescale the object. Now that we have the horizon line, we can draw the box that contains the car using the horizon line and the vanishing points that we discovered. In this example, here's where things get a bit tricky. This figure is not really a uniform object with straight edges, so we need to guess the bounding box around the figure using the clues we found on his body, like the position of the feet and the head from both sides. This box will be modified more later with correct perspective, but for now we can extend its line to get the horizon line from the right side. Once we get that horizon line, we can try to extend to the other side, but they meet in a different place. So let's modify the bounding box now till they meet at the same horizon line. And this is where we get to the real bounding box edges with the real horizon line and vanishing points. It's more of a dynamic operation here, not like the straight construction perspective line, because this is more organic. So now we can move the figure around and copy it to our canvas using this final bounding box. And this is how we trace perspective in reference photos and objects. Knowing where the horizon line and the vanishing points are in a reference image will help you copy its scene much more accurate than guessing where the things are without knowing the actual construction lines behind it. This will be a great step to add to those we discussed in the previous videos for accurately copying things you see. As a homework for this lesson, try gathering a couple of reference photos for different interior and exterior scenes, also some objects and figures, then use what you have learned here to trace the perspective of these photos yourself. It will help a lot in practicing each lesson as soon as you finish it, to make sure that all the information you have seen sticks in your memory. Watching alone will not be enough, as we have talked about before. Applying what you have learned is the most important part of learning anything new. So that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we will move on to understanding the horizon line and how its position will affect the way we see the bottom and top of the objects, especially when we draw them in perspective. We will do that in the next video. If you like this lesson, feel free to leave a like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section and I will do my best to answer them as soon as possible. To stay notified of future lessons, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell as well. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson.